And of course, lack of government support in terms of regulations. One of the key problems we have, let us remove the basic infrastructural gap we have in Nigeria that is common to everybody, is we are playing in an economy where government has no regard for how the produce is handled. Unlike countries like Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, these are countries we should follow, and even Indonesia, government has a policy on cocoa in a manner that before you export cocoa beans, it has to be processed. You have to add value, and that's what makes it strong. That's what can make an economy strong. But in Nigeria, we don't do that, so we have a situation whereby people, multinational merchants, come into the country with low cost of money, sometimes 2%, sometimes 3%, to compete for the cocoa, and the factories are not able to access it. Meantime, money price here in Nigeria, cost of money is like 25%. Yeah. So it's just not sustainable.
Okay, so there's a bit of an obvious export demand for cocoa. You know, it goes in chocolates, it goes in butter, it goes in powder, it goes in body cream as well. So would you say that this has basically removed Nigeria's export chances because it could be a strong earner for the country?
Yeah, the chances, the export chances are still there. We're saying that the orientation has to change. Okay. Basically, our cocoa beans goes into the international market to feed factories in Europe and America, whereas we can add value here locally. We have over 150,000 tons capacity, much more than that, in fact. And if we can add value and improve the quality of our earnings. And on top of that, we employ labor, professionals, mechanical engineers, chemical engineers, food technologists, microbiologists. These are people we employ, we engage in the factories. But these are people who we are not able to, because we are not running well, most of them are out of job. And that's not good for the economy at all.
Akin, you've set a tough operating business environment. Now we're told that debt in the industry, the cocoa industry itself, amounts to about 50 billion naira, and the industry is not new to AMCON takeovers. Yeah. And you also mentioned a couple of countries in West Africa that are better positioned in terms of cocoa production and exporting, and you also cited issues with the fact that we're unable to harness the opportunities from this resource due to our lack of industrialization, if I may use that word. That's right. How would you say that the sector, from your view, can maneuver its way out of this with minimal government intervention? Is that possible?
Well, the kind of government intervention we need at the moment is a policy statement. For example, do not export the raw cocoa beans. Let's feed the factory before the beans is exported.
Is it that simple?
Government should do that. It's government that can do that. We as processors cannot do that. That's where we talk about enabling environment. Policies drives economies of nations. So if government can set up that policy, the whole nation knows that we have to create value. We have to add value to our cocoa before it goes out. Then people can change their orientation. Instead of traders coming in here, they can't do what they are doing in Nigeria in other countries.
Okay, I just want to clarify what you're saying. Are you saying that the Nigerian government should better protect its cocoa processors so that the sector can grow to a stage where it is internationally competitive?
Yes, let me say the reasons why. One, we need to make sure our earnings are more qualitative than what it is now. Okay. That's number one. Number two, we need to industrialize this country. Okay. And one of the ways to do it is to make sure that our primary raw materials don't go out as raw materials. We need to add value and then push it to the international market. That will give us a lot of leverage in terms of quality earnings, in terms of employment generation, and in terms of the learning curve that you will need for industrialization. So it doesn't make sense to just bundle all your raw materials when we are not in the Stone Age and then let everything go out there. It is not good for the economy, for a country with over 200 million people. You understand what I'm saying? So agriculture is our area of comparative and competitive advantage. So it's better for us to leverage on that.
Let's move from government intervention now to financing. I know government intervention is part of the financing. We hear sometimes you get loans between 12%, but when you have to go to commercial banks, it could be as high as 26%. How would you describe your relationship with the banks in terms of generating financing for that sector of the economy?
Let me start with the government financing. You see, I think government is just making vain declarations because there's no monitoring of what government have said. The government, for example, announced 2 years ago that they have 500 billion export stimulation facility. The question is, how many people, how many factories have been able to access these funds?
Does it trickle down to you?
There is governmental inertia. That's what we're seeing in Nigeria. Okay, so there was a time that we had an offer from the bank, approved by Nexim, but we could not access it. That one was collapsed. They asked us to come again, and up to now, there are a lot of bottlenecks that will not make it accessible. So these things are not, there's inertia somewhere in the way we run things in Nigeria, and it's not making things to move forward. That's one. Now, talking about the local banks, well, they say, okay, if Treasury bills is doing 13.5%, and so there was a time it was as high as 15, 16, you know, why should they be encouraged to borrow a manufacturer who has a lot of risk?